You better hear late tonight.
Hey guys.
Good Tuesday evening.
Hello.
Abnormal, Alabama. Kevin the Cain.
Kevin the Cain.
We didn't get you a cane.
Oh,
He's Saint Cain and his cane.
I got a cane at home, but I'm not that old.
Picture of Kevin and his doll. Kevin brought another doll, and this one has fake plastic hair. All they did is paint the plastic on there. Is that one you got recently?
Yeah, this is one of Cherie's dolls that
You got two recently.
one from Cherie and one from another lady, Angela.
And I'm about to send
And,
4 or 5 home with him.
yeah, and I get to babysit.
Yeah, I started
Put
setting
in
them
the
out here.
office.
Just 4 or 5.
Just 4 or 5.
She just started collecting these things like just a few months ago, and we've already got a freaking office full of them.
And I really didn't mean to start collecting them.
Yeah,
They just got to me.
Yeah, she gets jealous of people, really.
I started something.
Yeah. So, we got a special guest in the house tonight. And by the way, you left a pair of boots back here.
Yeah.
Them leather Santa Claus boots.
Oh, Santa boots?
With this weather, you might need them.
I don't think it will.
Yeah, we're live on the air. We're broadcasting. And he was my fellow Santa the other weekend.
Okay.
Oh, the skinny version.
He was a skinny Santa. You know why I sit next to him, don't you? Because he's fatter than I am, makes me feel smaller.
I see. I refute that.
Refute it. Look at that belly. Gee.
Look at that now, Dave.
Have a seat, young man. Sit and relax. Grab some popcorn.
Yeah, I'm good.
He's going to tell us, do you believe in haunted dolls?
Never seen one.
Well, you're about to.
All these are haunted.
So we have a special guest in the house. Kevin Cain is going to talk about his latest edition. And you don't know anything about this guy, I don't guess. Kevin has written 11 books. Okay? And one of them, I've got the sheet for somewhere. And it's called the, what's it called?
Crimson, the blood painting.
Yeah, it's not Crimson, Roll Tide. It's blood. The blood painting. He's a heck of an author.
Well, thank you.
But he started collecting dolls a few years ago because he's been into the paranormal, doing paranormal research, ghost hunting. You like that stuff, don't you? I can tell by looking at you, you do. So, anyway, somebody came along and gave him a doll. He didn't think about dolls. And all of a sudden, somebody said haunted doll, and he kind of rolled his eyes, and then he brought one in his house because they started giving him haunted items. And these dolls are possessed. We caught one, and she could show you sometime the video. We did a show here, and we were streaming, talking to one of our friends up in Bristol, Tennessee. And the dolls moved during the show. So anyway, before you walked in and interrupted him, he was going to tell us about his latest edition here.
And this one, I don't have a whole lot of story. Now, there's not just one spirit with this beautiful doll here. There's 2. Their names are Amanda and Sally. Or I should say Sally and Amanda, because I think Sally was the first to attach herself to this doll. I'm not sure if either of them own the doll. We don't know that yet, but I do know it's 2 little girls between the ages of 5 and 7, around in there. Sheree said before she sent the doll to me, she told me it had been caught moving. And in fact, when she was showing a video of it on her live feed on Creepy Dolls and Paranormal, she had that doll sitting there on the table and she was talking about it, and it's close up. I'm telling you, and it's right there. It started waving or swaying like this. And I typed in there, I said, it's swaying, and somebody else typed in too. They saw it. Of course, Sheree starts laughing. She's off to the side out of frame. She starts laughing and says, yeah, it's known to move its arms and move around. And she told about the 2 little girls who were attached to it. They're really good friends. I don't think both girls died of an illness at different times, different places, and I don't think they knew each other in life. But in the spirit world, they found each other, and they're like sisters now. They're totally connected. They're close. And I did when I got the doll when it arrived and I unboxed it. I put it in the recliner. And I just want to say this before. My cat would never climb in that recliner. She'd like to lay with me on the sofa, or she'd go to this little chair I have to the side, but she never climbed in that recliner for any reason. She just wasn't interested. Well, as soon as this doll was sitting there, all of a sudden, every night, that cat is climbing up there, snuggling up to her and sleeping. Or I'd leave the room, come back, she's laying there curled up next to the doll, looking up at me like, what you want? You know? And the doll was like it was now with the head facing forward, but a few nights later, I looked over and noticed her head was turned facing me. Just her head was turned. I didn't turn it. So I want to get a camera on her. I want to, since she's moved several times, I want to get a camera on her and see what I can capture.
Now, for clarification, this Cherie was on our show.
Cherie.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
She's from Atlanta. He's got about 300 dolls in his house, haunted. Cherie over in Atlanta's got at least double that amount in her house. So she's got a lot of interesting stories about haunted dolls. So would you like to take one home with you? No?
Can you take one to Ramon? For me? Can you take one for me?
Yeah.
I need a babysitter.
You think my wife's letting me bring it in the house?
Just don't tell her. Just bring her a gift of a haunted doll.
Yeah.
Don't tell her it's haunted.
Check up state of you, she throws me out.
That one over there is an Annabelle Jr. Saw the movie Annabelle.
Yeah, I've got a few Raggedy Ann dolls at home. I haven't brought any of those.
Yeah.
I've got some new Raggedy Ann's coming soon.
So anyway, so that is the story. What we have been doing the last couple of shows, because if you go back in history, and not very ancient history, Christmas was a time of telling ghost stories. Thus, we have, what's the name of Scrooge's
Christmas Carol.
The Christmas Carol. You know, three ghosts, you know, future, present, past, whatever.
Yeah, Krampus.
And Krampus, of course. You know, look at that. He knows.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Opposite of Santa.
So anyway, the bottom line, we like ghost stories. And it doesn't matter to me. You don't have to believe them. It's just entertaining. Friday the 13th, your son was here with us, and we watched Friday the 13th on the big screen here. And boy, they had popcorn strung all over the
I think they did.
He had a blast.
But they everybody had a blast except for him.
I did have a blast.
I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah,
I've
it
never
was very
seen
good
it.
time. We'll have to have more of them. So.
You know, yes, I still have to close my eyes when it's bloody scenes. But
There's not even a bloody scene in that show.
Was it the original one?
no,
It was the third one.
There was nothing gory about it.
It
Yes,
had
but-
the 3D version, but we couldn't get the Blu-ray to work, so we just watched the regular.
I lost my remote. You couldn't play it without the remote.
Yeah,
But it was still good.
it's still
Still
good.
very good. We had a good time.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we've been doing for our shows, we do this every Tuesday night from 7 to 9. Sometimes we run a few minutes over time, but you know, we try to keep it pretty close.
I gotta have a shot every once in a while, man. You're always picking on me.
Bottom line is,
Yeah.
we've been sharing ghost stories. Do you have any Christmas ghost stories for us tonight, or you just want to pick on me?
I'm not gonna pick on you. I can pull up a Christmas story.
Oh, he's gonna cheat now.
Yeah.
He written 11 books, and he has no imagination.
Aye.
I got some news real quick.
Okay.
Taco Bell's ribbon cutting in our little town here is December 23rd.
Oh, we've been waiting for
7
Taco
a.m.
Bell here in Columbiana. They about got it. When was the date?
It's December 23rd, 7 a.m.
All right, you'll be there. Probably she'll probably be a ribbon cutting grand opening.
You know I'll be their first customer.
But
I'll be the
actually,
first one to drive through.
huh?
I'll be the first one to drive through.
Yeah. Anyway, she won't get out, but she.
Depends on how.
So that's what you're in for tonight. Is just some basic ghost stories like we do at Christmas time. We're not going to do Christmas Carol because everybody knows that one.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do, bro?
Well, you know, Krampus.
Yeah.
Not many
Why don't you
people-
tell the story of Krampus?
I
Not
just pulled it up.
also see, Kevin and I think a lot alike.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's great.
Wow.
Well, we're co-authoring a book together. We better think something alike.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna ever get started on that book.
Yeah,
We'll
we
talk
are.
about it.
I think I feel better.
Oh, by the way, I want to plug something real quick.
Okay.
Be patient.
Patient.
Won't give me.
Patient.
Won't let me
Who?
talk.
I'm
Won't let me talk.
I'm
at
gonna say
all.
yours and mine.
Hold on, I gotta get some more popcorn for this story.
All right. Soon to be released is my new book called
Yes.
Dating the Dead. All right. And it's an interesting book. And you want to learn about it, go to datingthedead.com. I'm not encouraging people to date the dead. All right. But if you can't find a human mate, there's a possibility for you, right? But this is a compilation of stories going back present day and in history about the strange and weird human relationship with ghosts and deceased people. Even in religion, we have this strange thing going on. The Catholics pray people away from purgatory and turn people into saints after they're dead. The Mormons, you're familiar with Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, they marry in proxy for the dead. And it goes on into infinity. So I just want to get my plug out. That book is being edited right now and proofed and whatnot. So to get this published, I kept adding to it, and finally I said, this has got to be it. So getting good feedback on that book, by the way. It's going to outsell your book.
No way.
I'm getting a booth. If you want to share a booth with us at that Days of the Dead in Atlanta.
Yeah, are you gonna get one?
Yeah, if they still
I
got
was
any
going
available.
on Sunday. I've got a ticket to go out. My dad was.
But if you
planning on-
have a booth, you get in all 3 days, and you get an extra ticket for a friend.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
So we'll have to buy only one ticket.
We get one booth, and I'm sure that each one of us would bring a spouse, whatever. You know, you can lie and say your mother's your spouse.
Not mother in heaven. So she
Well,
can
your mother's dead.
Yeah.
My mother is too.
Well,
So
ain't nothing
man, I would have to die to have a family reunion.
No,
Yeah.
I still got some there.
My family talks to me. I'm sorry, well, wait a minute. Anyway, so datingthedead.com to learn about my book. His books can be purchased. You can go, of course, they're on Amazon and all the typical places you find books. But the easiest way is to go to myhaunteddogs.com. And very entertaining, very good. He writes better than he talks, trust me. And I say that he's about to tell a story.
I love listening to Kevin's storytelling.
Go to My Haunted Dolls on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel. He does audio podcast stories. If you like, do you like haunted stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he does, even though he plagiarizes a lot. He comes.
I say on there, I tell my favorite stories that I grew up listening to.
Yeah. No, he's a good. He's good.
No, I didn't write them.
He's a good writer. Anyway, I just want to get that plug out. MyHauntedDolls.com
Thank you.
and abnormalalabama.com and my datingdead.com. We got a lot of .coms out there.
Yeah, I was going to say Scarefest in Kentucky. Remember we talked about it last day. That would be even better because they're a big paranormal.
So when is it?
That's next. It should be next September.
So we got more time to plan that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
Okay.
have even more of a paranormal. They got all
Is that
kinds
the-
of people from demonologists to
Is that the
Native
fairground
American spiritual people.
near where they have the horse races?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in Lexington.
I went to one of their Christmas shows up there one time.
Mhm.
It's a nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been 3 times to Scarefest. I love it. I sat there a while because it costs money.
Yeah, but if we're both selling books, we should
But
join
yeah,
together.
selling books would make a difference there for the hotel
And-
room.
We're going to take, and she could do the same thing with your logos, like from the Blood Crimson book,
Mhm.
and do some T-shirts and different paraphernalia to go with that.
I mean,
He would look good in one of those Dating the Dead T-shirts, wouldn't he?
I got an awesome idea.
What?
Christmas is coming up, but that's in September of next year. Look at the Christmas stockings.
September's not. Everybody's doing Christmas early.
Yeah.
That's putting Christmas stuff out
We can do
before.
Christmas stuff.
No, we want to limit it to the books. We don't want a table full.
Yeah.
Literally, that's
Yeah, you
where
get
we
a
keep
6-foot
screwing up.
table.
Yeah. We don't have anything to do
We
with
only
books.
get a 6-foot panel?
Yeah, you can pay, I guess, costs more to get two.
Mhm.
I can't remember the cost. I know one's at least $450 or something for one booth with a 6-foot
All we
table.
need with our books is one table.
Yeah.
We don't want to go wild. We just want to focus on
Yeah.
this one thing.
They won't start to put carry a little table to put behind you to put stuff.
The problem with some of the stuff we've been doing recently is we've got too much going on. We didn't get focused on some stuff. So every event that we've had, including Orange Beach and down at the castle, he's the only one making money. People buy his books, and so it's like we got to get
Yeah.
focused here. All right, I'm gonna turn this over to Kevin, and he's gonna tell us about Krampus.
Krampus, the alternate of Santa Claus. Ooh. Central European folklore is where he came from. So he's not, I try to what some people believe. He didn't come from America. He came from Central Europe. At least the legend did.
Everything we've got
And,
from there.
Yeah. Krampus was said to be a horned now I have trouble saying this. Horned anthropomorphic figure. I got it. Described as half goat and half demon. And I'm going to read, I got a little bit of a lengthier origin story here. All right. The creature is so popular that he's got his own comic book series. There have been parties made around Krampus that people celebrate. There's a Krampus festival in Orlando, Florida, even.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called, I can't pronounce it, Krampusnacht Festival, something like that. And people dress up. There's people dressed up as Krampus and go around frightening everybody. But Krampus himself historically comes around the night of December 5th, so it's actually prior to Christmas. And he tags along with St. Nicholas, and they visit all the houses. And while St. Nick is going to be the one coming Christmas Eve to fill your stockings with candy, all the good boys and girls. If you've been naughty, Krampus comes around. His specialty is punishing naughty children.
And he does bring cold.
And
But his specialty is eating the kids.
yeah, originally it was birch twigs he would bring. And it says here, legend has it that throughout, not just December 5th, throughout the Christmas season, misbehaved kids are beaten with birch branches or can even disappear, stuffed into Krampus's sack and hauled off to his lair to be tortured or eaten. So he is absolutely opposite of Santa Claus. So you have the saint and you have the devil both parading around on Christmas. And it says, actually, Krampus's roots have nothing to do with Christmas. Instead, they date back to pre-Germanic paganism in the region. And his name originates with the German word Krampen, which means claw. And tradition has it that he is the son of the Norse god of the underworld, whose name is Hel.
Hell,
Yeah, Hel. That's what it says. But it says during the 12th century, look at this, the Catholic Church attempted to banish Krampus celebrations because of his resemblance to the devil. Eradication attempts followed in 1934 at the hands of Austria's conservative Christian Social Party, but none of this held, and Krampus emerged as a much feared and yet beloved holiday force. And even today, there's festivals. Like I said, there's one here they got a picture of in Orlando. Where they dress up as Krampus, and there's several movies. I saw the big screen one was a couple of years ago, and it was pretty good. It was, but and that Toni Collette is her name, Academy Award actress, is in it, and several other actors. It was a good movie. And then they have some straight-to-video ones that had nothing to do with that movie that tell their own story of Krampus. So that's the origin of Krampus.
So the couple of issues I take with this, number one, the religious Christian group that was against Krampus because they said it resembled the devil, they've never read the Bible. Because the Bible describes the devil as being a very handsome, you know what I'm saying?
It was an angel.
And this illusion that's been sold on people of the horns and all this crap came from Dante.
Well, the Bible tells you that Lucifer was the most beautiful angel ever
Yes.
made.
The morning star.
He was the most beautiful angel ever made.
So even more beautiful than Jesus.
Oh,
That's why
yeah.
that's what the Bible says. I'm sorry. Most beautiful one.
There's no beautiful angel, but yeah, for Jesus was not an angel.
Yeah.
Now, Jesus was an angel.
No, Jesus.
Yes, they were. My degree is in theology.
No,
They
Jesus
are
is not
all
an angel.
angels. But anyway,
We'll get that in
He's
a
got
second.
a degree.
the bottom line is that Satan was not an ugly creature, okay,
He was
regardless of the other views of it. But that's where I take the issue with that.
where he had beauty, he didn't have much brains because he didn't get his stupid stuff kicked out of heaven. But hey, you know.
Yeah,
So we're trying to throw over the ball.
but it's just like I reminded him, there'd be no Christianity if it had not been for Satan. So there you go. Wouldn't be hell without Satan. So anyway, so anyway,
I'm sure there'd be no Christianity if they would have been.
if what?
They would not.
Yeah. Hey, you listen to a talking snake.
Oh,
Come on,
good.
man.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
Adam didn't put
Without
his foot
getting too
down.
deep into it, the problem that us Gentiles have is we're trying to interpret a Jewish book. And we make a lot of mistakes doing that. And that's the big problem right there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it all boils down to a 4-letter word with me, and that is L-O-V-E. I'm not God, I'm not Jesus, and I can't save you. So all I can do is love you.
Good.
And it's very hard to love this guy.
I don't think so.
I don't pick on people I don't like. If I didn't like him, I wouldn't be sitting here next to him.
Yeah, I'd be out there on the curb in
Right.
the cold.
So what do you think of Krampus?
Was that great?
Anybody? What's your views of Krampus?
I think
I think Krampus makes Christmas interesting.
I started to say something, and then I realized I'm on film.
You're not on film, you're live.
I'm live. I started. Should I go ahead and say it?
Yeah.
I've heard he's quite horny.
Yeah. It's interesting. Before you guys got here,
Yeah,
Christian
he's
was
made me
here.
get a dirty mouth.
And Christian just posted, you only need 3 bones to live. A wishbone, a funny bone, and a backbone.
Yeah.
And his uncle came in there and said, well, really, all you need is 1. And that's a boner. You wouldn't be here without it.
I was thinking the same thing.
So since you're going to be crass, we'll jump in there.
Oh, I'm just saying, open my big mouth. I want to find something for
I
those.
wouldn't be here without one.
That's it.
Yeah.
I tell people, is it when your birthday, do you thank your parents for having had sex when they did? If they hadn't had it at that moment, at that time, it wouldn't be
That
good.
would have been
I was
too
an accident anyway.
much for my parents.
Yeah, but they still had to have sex when they did.
That's it.
So when you have your birthday, you go along and say, Dad, thank you so much for screwing Mom. People say, that's a child's a gift from God. And I say, no, it's a gift from unprotected sex. He was an accident.
I was a mistake too.
Yeah.
Maybe I was one of your
surprised. I was surprised because my mom was told she'd never have children. Then came my sister, and then came me.
Well, I tell you what, my family was so poor, they didn't have no children. My daddy always told me to let it next door had us. All right, we're going from bad to worse here.
Hey, whatever happens, happens.
Lord have mercy. Okay, we need to find a good.
Yeah, I've got some Christmas stories coming up here that you want me to tell.
Oh, Christmas time. Oh, Christmas time.
Oh, here's
it will be Christmas time.
another one, another Christmas ghost story. But guess what? A doll.
Oh,
You sure you hadn't told that one before?
This
I've
one I
heard
did
so
not
many
tell. I
doll
didn't even-
stories from you.
I never even looked at this because the title would definitely stick out. It's called Purple Fingernails. I've never read or
Okay,
told a
well,
story about.
let's hear it. Let's
All
hear
right. There was once a little girl who had a large collection of dolls. Dun, dun, dun. One Christmas, she saw a doll in the window of a department store that she absolutely had to have. It had long, flowing blonde hair and a lovely blue dress. But the thing that impressed her the most about the doll was that it had lovely, bold, purple fingernails. When Christmas morning came, she was delighted to find the doll with the purple fingernails lying under the Christmas tree. She played with it all day, and when she went to sleep, she put it on the table at her bedside. That night, the little girl was awakened by strange noises. It was still dark outside. She looked over for her doll, but it was nowhere to be found. The girl was puzzled, but got out of bed and walked into the hallway. The door to her parents' room was ajar, and she pushed it open softly and looked in. Her parents appeared to be sleeping soundly, so she went back to bed. In the morning, she saw the doll with the purple fingernails was sitting on the table by her bed exactly where she had left it. She assumed that she had just been having a bad dream, but when she went into her parents' room that morning, oh, this is a curse story. It's freezing up my phone. When she went into her parents' room that morning, she found them both lying dead in a pool of blood. There were 2 purple doll fingernails stabbed into their hearts. And that is the end.
Can I get rid of that? No.
Bloody.
I'm going to share a story that these guys have heard, and there may not be, and it's not really a ghost story, but this happened in Nashville to me back in the late 90s. And I lived out toward the Natchez Trace, as far west in Davidson County as you can get. And I kept an office upstairs in my house, had a extra bedroom. I turned it into an office. And it was the middle of the daytime, and I had to run to a Walmart 10 minutes away from it to get some ink, I think, for my printer. And I'm coming out of the store back into the parking lot, and there was, earlier in life, I had a relationship with this lady named Pam. And I hadn't seen her in years. She had drifted her way and married somebody in the Carolinas. I had no way to get a hold of her. This is way before Facebook and whatnot. And I hadn't even thought about her. But I had the same office number that I'd had forever. In 08, I held all that number forever. So I was easy to find. Plus, being in business, people can easily find me too. But regardless, when I'm walking out of the store, this lady comes into the parking lot that looked like Pam. And so I tried to get her attention, and she disappeared at the store. We've all got a double. So I got in my car, went home, and by the time I got home to my office, pretty much forgotten about it. Sit down at my desk, my phone rings. I answer it, and the voice on the other end of the line says, "Kelsey, this is Pam." I said, "I thought I saw you today." She said, "Well, what were you doing at the courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina?" The same time that I saw her, and there's more to it, because the Walmart I went to was on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. I had no way to get a hold of her, and I wasn't going to do any homework to try to find her. It just wasn't that important to me. It had been years since I'd seen her, talked to her, or anything else. And I wasn't at my desk 2 minutes, the phone rings. "This is Pam. I thought I saw you. I didn't even get to say, what were you doing at the Walmart?" And she said, "What were you doing in Charlotte, North Carolina at the courthouse where she worked?" It's like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't at the courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina. What were you doing at the parking lot at a Walmart in Nashville?" She didn't want to talk anymore. End of subject. She never would discuss it. It was history. So it's not quite a ghost story, but it was a very strange experience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, just coincidence. Everybody's got a double game.
Yeah. But she, the same time that I'm seeing her, she's seeing me. Very strange. Yeah. So anyway, have you heard over? I think it's in the Bessemer area of this abandoned memorial mound in Bessemer here. You haven't heard this. This is very interesting. The guy that built it died. He had grew up as in the funeral business and whatnot, and cemetery. In his early career, he was digging graves, and he took a very profound interest in it. Did a lot of research as to how we have handled dealing with disposing of remains, and of course the Indians. Moundville, the way they dealt with it and so forth. And then, of course, you go to certain parts of Europe, and they've got the caves where they just stack bodies in the caves over there. And so he created in Bessemer this memorial mound. He ultimately died at an old age, and this place, nobody took it over, and it became dilapidated. It's called Memorial Mound, and it's over there. Back in 2015, they were going through trying to identify because the caskets were deteriorating, and people had been breaking into it and all this other stuff. It became a home, if you will, for all these ghost hunter groups. And unfortunately, these ghost hunter groups are not good people. You know, the graffiti, they tear places up. You should always get permission, shouldn't you? To go
Yeah.
into an abandoned place.
Yeah, don't trespass.
And you should respect the
Yeah.
place. If you go in, you realize that even though it may look abandoned, there's nothing there that you should take with you.
Mhm.
Now, some people use superstition of, oh, it could be a haunted item, you could be taking something home. But honestly, in my opinion, it's just a respect for it's not yours,
Mhm.
and you don't take it home. But this had turned into, you see some pictures there, you can look that up on the internet. This is an article from 2015, it's updated 2019, yeah. So authorities today released the names of 7 adults and 1 infant whose bodies were recovered from an abandoned, vandalized Westerner mausoleum. The remains, at least one visible in the open casket, was taken out of the memorial mound. And I had heard stories over a period of time that people actually had taken skulls out of there. People, maybe you've heard this too, I guess. It's a popular place.
How would you
Not everybody's nice. That's all I can say. Jefferson County Coroner's Office took possession of the remains for safekeeping until family members could be found to make final arrangements. Chief Deputy Coroner Bill Yates, I remember that name, today said 2 of those found
Yates.
there have been moved by family members to other funeral homes. Relatives of 3 others have been in contact with the coroner's office, but have not yet made final arrangements. Authorities are still searching for relatives of the remaining 3. So that's an interesting thing, and I think since they've secured the building, there's the front there. As you see, it's kind of in a cave. You walk down, there's the entrance that would be down there. And there were literally coffins with bodies that these, what do you call these people that rip rap that were opening up. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Gosh.
That doll that's behind that other doll, it's been staring at me since I walked in the door.
The little bitty one.
Oh,
Now, what do you call that doll? There's a name for this
keep it off?
Cupid doll.
Also, keep it on.
Now, why is it staring at you?
Oh no, his eyes been pointing over my way the whole time.
What are you doing over there?
Oh no, but he likes me, I guess.
You want to hold him?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
His name is Emmett.
Emmett.
That's
Yes. Now, the gentleman's name that built this place was Liddy M. Lewis. He died in '86 in January of 2001. Oh no! Wait a minute.
he was
That was
86 years old.
no. This is somebody else. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm wrong. This is listing the names of the
Oh,
corpses
okay.
they found in there.
Okay.
You want to see why his eyes are pointing that way.
All right. He's debunking his own story.
I won't put him back because he's kind of holding up Sally and
But Memorial Mound is one of those places, and my friend Kevin has done a lot of ghost hunting in his life. Paranormal, I don't know, what do you call yourself? Paranormal
I'd
research?
say paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
Because ghost hunting just sounds like you're out. I want to say a ghost.
Now,
You're not really taking it seriously.
Y'all are not as active as you used to be.
Oh, we were really active in this past year. So I think because our team leader Kim got burnt out. She had published some books, but she had a really tough personal time, had some personal issues going on.
Yeah.
And so I think she's finally kind of creeping back from that. And her book Hate Blue, the things that went on with that investigation really affected her for years.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Now, the book is not that old.
Yeah, she finally had put that second one out a few years ago. Because after an issue we had, I probably should speak it on the air, but an issue we had at a location in Tennessee, we were invited to. Somebody there wasn't who he appeared to be,
You mind giving me some popcorn?
and that really had an effect on her too, because she was in a way assaulted. So
Now,
But I
Cat,
won't go into that. I don't
Cat
wanna-
had some kind of a leg problem.
Yeah, Cat had some injuries.
Yeah.
And I know Ladarius has his own things, but he's in a
Oh,
chef.
he's
and
gotten involved in a
got
lot of
involved- he was
stuff.
involved heavy in
Thank you.
conventions here locally. Then now he's getting into doing his own thing.
Okay,
He
that
got some
door.
kind of production guy.
Did y'all just hear that? Did y'all just hear that door?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
but
closed-
Dean-
I closed it, walked over here, turned around, and it opened and closed itself
Yeah,
back.
it clicked.
Okay.
So that's weird. I heard it.
And of course, Frank went back to school.
Yeah, he went back to school. He was with he did his own things with Casper, but he would come join us sometimes on
Mhm.
investigations.
Well,
And,
the whole thing, and I think it's fun, but I think you get more activity at your dolls than
Yeah, I can
You
just
know.
stay at home and get stuff. So
there is a
I've been
guy,
more focused on my writing lately.
and I've talked about this guy before, Steve Huff Paranormal,
Yeah,
and he's got right at 1 million freaking subscribers. Have you seen that?
yeah, I've
Yeah.
watched some of his things.
And what do you think?
At first, I was like, wow, some of the things were, when I originally went on there,
Yeah.
not knowing about it. Then as I started watching, and every time
Mhm.
he's one of the guys, like famous guys, there's an EVP that day.
Mhm.
And just after a while, you start wondering what's being manipulated on these machines he's creating. And,
Yeah. And then he started selling those machines like on eBay for like $1,500.
yeah, that's the, and I just, so
And
it
it's
kind of made
nothing
me skeptical. I don't
nothing
insult the guy, but,
Yeah.
it made
Well,
me skeptical.
I think, we criticize what people are doing because it kind of ruins the flavor of everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, we have all the spirit boxes and whatnot, but people have been communicating with the dead with scrying mirrors and Ouija boards long before we had all these gadgets. Raymond Moody created his psychomantium and so forth, which is basically a scrying mirror in an enclosed area with deprivation chamber. if you will.
Yeah.
I think the biggest tool we've got with any of the supernatural is right here, and because even with all these tools, like you said, Steve Huff, every couple of days has got a new video. The reason I thought of him, quite simply, was because he never leaves home. Yeah, you said that. He's got you watch him, he's always at home.
Yeah.
He's got that setting. He's got to be making a fortune just with his subscriber base. If they've got his Patreon account, he just got $1 a person. You get a freaking $1 million a month. He's got a beautiful home, and he never leaves home. And he's an ugly guy. He's nothing to look at.
Oh,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't think I've watched the video where I've actually seen him. I've heard
Oh,
his
yeah.
videos, but
And I'm
I
not.
kinda stopped watching when it
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I kind of stopped watching when it got to where it's like, wait a minute, there's just too much going on here. And I'm starting to wonder, is it
Well, my whole thing,
real?
I'm not knocking it. I
Yeah,
don't believe what he's doing, but the guy's got it going on.
yeah,
You can't knock that. And I was like, if I were you, I'd get into that at home. Screw this going out to abandoned buildings, getting nailed, step on a nail and getting bit by a rat, because, I can't believe how successful this guy is. I haven't looked him up in a long
He
time.
must not have a day job. He's going to have so
That's
much
it.
time.
That's all he does. That's all he
Yeah.
does. Ooh. And you type in Huff,
Yeah,
and he's going to pop right up,
yeah.
Huff Paranormal.
Best apps.
And he does this, and it's just like, really, here's Huff Paranormal fake. You think I'm dogging him out. But you go over here, and here he is. He's got 988,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Right at 1 million. 704 videos. I don't know how many videos you got. I've only got a couple of hundred over one channel.
I don't have that.
That video there's got 208,000 views. And really, he's got a Patreon account right there. And this one, just 1 week ago, he put out Juice World Spirit Box Session. Already got almost 100,000 views on it. And what I'm saying is like, you don't have to leave home, man. You just got to cut it. And what I've seen, and I've watched several, in fact, most of the YouTube channels I watch have nothing to do with paranormal, supernatural. And what I've learned is not that they're just awesomely talented, they're consistent. They put out material you could bet. One of them, the carpetbagger, he puts out something every freaking day. Every day. Then another one, the nomadic fanatic, he puts out a video every other day. Once in a while he'll miss and be it one third day, but these very consistent. Adam the Woo, have you heard of him? He went for a long time, and for like 5 years, he put out a video every single day. He's got to change his flavor, but these people get subscribers. You out of all the people around the world, you'll get people. I started doing my Facebook stream and just ranting and whatnot, and all of a sudden, I'm getting viewers just me driving down the road just blabbing. and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you consistently do something, you'll get followers because people on the internet, they don't watch TV anymore.
Yeah.
They're looking for content. And if you've got an opinion, you share it, there's something for everybody out here.
I've got my fans on Facebook that friends that I've never met that every time I go live, they are on there. And they're
That's
like,
what I'm saying, but I
Are
do
you
it.
making money?
You bet. I do almost every day, and sometimes more than once a day, I'm live streaming. You know, consistently, I may have an opinion about this or opinion about that. I may just be ranting or bullshitting about something, and people get used to your voice. They get used to your rants. I had one guy message me, and he said, "You befriended me." I guess you know you get these recommendations for friends, and he said I was going through a rough time, and I immediately started listening to your live stream things, and you gave me a new perspective, and I just wanted to thank you.
Yeah.
You never know who you're affecting,
Yeah.
you know. So
I get
I'm
messages.
encouraging you to get more involved in your
I've tried to.
You know?
It's just you
And from-
can't be a writer and a YouTuber and a this and that. And
you're not
everything.
writing, you've got your
Full-time
last
job.
book. You want to get out of your job. You're
that's
not
right.
writing right now.
I'm sitting here with you. That's why.
Because we're live streaming.
Yeah.
This is helping you out. Hey, watch Captain Cain.
But it's not, with a
Yeah,
full-time job,
Yeah.
it's hard to do. it
Help
every day.
my friend get out of his freaking job.
And I've been on
Support it.
there. I know people want to see more. And I'm gonna try to do more. I've done some more videos here
Right.
lately.
Instead of playing with your
And
cats all right.
I don't play with my cats. I got one cat.
you need another one.
But
too.
it's hard to be, because I always want to be a full-time writer. I wasn't interested in computer, but it's hard to do that and keep that constant, then do this podcast, keep that going, then do this podcast, and then just everything. And there's only 24 hours in a day,
Bottom
and I
line
got a
is,
full-time job.
he's lazy.
I had a full-time job, Monday through Friday.
Did you see what I'm making now?
What are you making now?
You didn't see my ashes to ashes there?
I hadn't, no, I guess I haven't.
Has anybody actually bought one?
Yes, I've sold one.
Okay, that's fine because you always embellish things. Like everybody wants one. Like you saw one. Everybody wants one.
I never said that.
You did. Oh, it's popular. It's about to go viral.
Anyway,
We don't have just one episode, we're just beating the crap out of
no, we need some of them plastic bags.
him.
Anyway, the bears are handmade and they're an heirloom item. And if you'll send me
You
your,
put people's ashes in
and
them.
if you send me the person's ashes, I will actually sew the ashes up inside the bear for
Oh,
She'll make
okay.
you think she sewed them in there. She might be
That's
tossing the ashes
amazing.
in the trash can.
you know, because
Pets too, I guess.
cats too. I can do a dog, I
Well-
can do a rabbit, I can do a cat.
You need to, if
That's
you're
a
going to do
dog.
something like that,
Anything
you
else
need to
like
have a
that,
special request for what they want this sewn into. In other words, not everybody wants a bear. Maybe an Alabama football fan would like
Everything.
Alabama football fan would like an elephant with their ashes in it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can probably do
And
that.
maybe an Auburn fan would like, I go to cemeteries all the time. These cemeteries are decorated with Alabama and Auburn football. These people carry that crap to the grave with them, you know? So you have a tiger and you have a elephant, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't like Alabama, the Republican.
Jeez, Laura, was it Lori?
I'm in Auburn, Alabama.
Alabama.
He just goes with the crowd. He
I
doesn't
do not. I've been all my
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I am a Tennessee fan.
Oh, balls.
I like the Bulldogs only because of the song. Who let the dogs in?
I really
They
don't
got a
know
neat
football. I went to every football game from my middle school years all the way up to my high school years, and guess what? I never watched the first football game.
Never did.
Latest update. You've seen all the memes on Facebook about Epstein didn't kill himself, blah, blah, blah. We now have it straight from the grave. Trump had Epstein killed in his cell. It wasn't Hillary. They got it all wrong.
Oh,
See,
my
they're using Hillary as a distraction.
Oh,
WMD, weapons of mass distraction. It's Hillary. It's Hillary. And if it's not Hillary, then it's Obama. It's Obama. The whole time it was Trump. Okay, go ahead.
oh my gosh. And I'm sure the evidence in there from the very first
There
thing
he
he's
is.
making fun of.
This is Jeffrey, and I love them little girls.
I got another story here.
All right.
All right.
We were talking about, this is funny, I forgot I told this last year on my podcast. You've heard of Krampus, we talked about that, but have you heard of Hans Trap? Another version. Hans Trap is a legendary boogeyman from Alsace and Lorraine regions of France. He accompanies Santa Claus to punish naughty children at Christmas. While Santa delivers presents and gifts, Hans Trap delivers beatings. When Christmas approaches, naughty children in Alsace and Lorraine tremble when their parents utter the words, "Hans Trap is coming." Everyone knows the tale of Santa's evil counterpart. Well, at least in France they do. According to the legend, during the 15th century, there was a rich and powerful man who lived in the heart of Alsace. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. His name was Hans Trap, and the people there knew him to be vain, cunning, heartless, and cruel. His life was given over to lawlessness and debauchery, and his only goal was to enrich himself by all means necessary. It was said that he worshipped Satan and used black magic and occult rituals to obtain his wealth and hold on to his power. When the Catholic Church became aware of these misdeeds, Hans Trap was arrested and brought before the Pope in Rome. He was excommunicated from the church for the crime of sacrilege. When he returned to Alsace, he was ostracized by the local people. Everyone fled from him as if he was a wild beast. His money and land was confiscated and he was left penniless. They say he was forced into exile in the forest and isolated himself from the rest of society. He found shelter on the mountain of Geisberg in Bavaria, Germany, where he built himself a makeshift shack made from sticks. The solitude caused him to lose his mind, and he spent his days brooding and dreaming of revenge. His anger and resentment were intensified, and he became more devoted deeply to Satanism. Descending into madness, Hans Trap began to dream of eating human flesh. The evil man was obsessed with a desire to bite into the flesh of a human arm, a leg, or a thigh. He roamed the countryside and disguised himself as a scarecrow by stuffing his ragged clothes with straw. He spent his time gathering sticks and hay in field and lying in wait, looking for the perfect victim. One day, he spotted a shepherd boy making his way through the woods. The boy was only 10 years of age, but Hans Trap was determined to kill and eat him. As he stared at the young boy, he began to drool at the mouth, imagining biting into his delicious and tender flesh. Before the boy knew what was happening, Hans Trap pounced, attacking him viciously and running him through with a sharpened stick. Then he dragged the dying child back to his shack, where he cut the boy into small pieces and roasted him over an open fire. When his monstrous meal was ready, Hans Trapp licked his lips and prepared to taste human flesh for the first time. However, before a morsel could enter his mouth, a bolt of lightning came from the sky and struck him dead. As the story goes, God would not allow the abomination to continue and decided to end the crimes of Hans Trapp once and for all. Since that time, Hans Trapp has remained a terrifying legend in the folklore of Alsace-Lorraine. Every Christmas, he goes from house to house, clad in his scarecrow disguise, scaring the life out of small children and drooling greedily over their tender flesh. So children, beware, do not be evil, do not cause mischief, for on Christmas Eve you might awaken to the face of the scarecrow drooling over your head.
Either end up looking like that.
Oh, come on now. Now, what's scarier, that or Krampus? What do you think?
I like that story.
You like that? That was even more detailed.
Yeah, don't you like that story?
I love stuff like that.
And I just love it because it's more realistic than Krampus.
Yeah.
That story was right. That could have really happened.
Yeah.
And Krampus, didn't really happen.
Or did it?
Or did it? Dun, dun, dun,
Or
dun,
did it?
Dun, 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 dun.
It could just be a
Phenomena.
Mm.
Phenomena.
Dun, 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 dun,
I think I'm stuffed on popcorn.
Huh?
I think I'm stuffed on popcorn. I'm still hungry.
You've been eating ever since you've been here, which has been like 9 hours ago.
I have not.
Listen to it, man.
I've had like 5
We ate a whole pizza.
I didn't eat a pizza.
Pop popcorn 3 times.
I did not eat a whole pizza. I didn't even eat any pizza.
Look, now even Spain has their version. Look at this. They got a version.
Krampus?
Yeah, theirs is black. So we've had Krampus, we've had Hans Trapp, now we've got Spain and Black Peter. Black Peter.
Okay, wait a minute. That sounds racist.
That doesn't have anything to do with the race. He's not a person.
That's sexist.
He is a demonic dwarf from the folklore of Belgium
Black
and the Netherlands. Oh, it's just
Come
a
on.
name.
Come on.
Come on now.
Jeez, this is a kid-friendly show. Fuck.
We need a censor here to pan. You're getting the look.
All right.
All right.
Excuse him. He knows not what he's doing.
Drag that back to here. So should I tell the story of Black Peter?
You've already opened up the door box. Now, what's in that? Speaking of boxes, what's that box there?
A box that Kelly was supposed to take with him, but he forgot.
He was in a hurry to get the hell out of here.
You scared him off.
No, he's just tired. He worked as an electrician all day.
Oh boy.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Black Peter. And please, people, no racism, no sexism, nothing sexual about it just because I'm talking about Peter. Nothing racist just because
They
it's a
get
Black Peter.
Well,
They get it.
Okay.
we can use the Spain's their language, the word. I guess it's Spanish there too. So, it doesn't look Spanish, but Zwarte Piet is their name.
Sweater.
Zwarte Piet. Okay.
Let me see this.
Teddy.
Okay.
A demonic dwarf from the folklore of Belgium and the Netherlands. He appears each Christmas as the helper of Santa Claus, Sinterklaas, to punish children for their bad behavior.
Mercy.
He lives in a coal mine in Spain. Uh-oh. He's going to say something about this.
I think nothing.
His skin is black because of the soot and coal dust from the mine.
Okay.
His hair is singed by the fire from all the chimneys he has to climb down.
Ooh.
He spends the year spying on the children of Belgium and Holland, taking note. Now, it said Spain, but this is Belgium, that's Germany, so I don't know when. Okay, anyway, taking note of who has been good and who has been wicked. On Christmas Eve, he sets out from his coal mine, squeezing himself through the narrow tunnels and riding off on his coal cart which is pulled by plague-ridden undead rams, or plague-ridden, I should say, undead rams. So instead of Santa Claus and the reindeer, you got this coal cart with a bunch of plague-ridden undead rams. Every Christmas, Peter is forced to accompany Santa Claus as he goes from house to house, distributing the presents. While Santa rewards the good children, Peter takes delight in punishing the bad ones. Children who misbehave do not receive any presents from Santa. Instead, Peter will leave a bundle of twigs or a lump of coal in their Christmas stocking as a warning. If the children have been really bad or have not heeded the warning, Peter will snatch them from their beds and throw them into his sack, which is full of hungry rats. He kidnaps the boys and girls and takes them back to his coal mine, where he chains them up and makes them his slaves. The poor children are forced to dig coal forever, while Peter amuses himself by poking them with sharp pins. If they ever grow too sick or tired to work, Peter will simply eat them. Not quite as detailed as Hans' trap.
Well, I mean, it's almost
creepy.
a Krampus thing.
Yeah.
Close, right?
Yeah.
So what we've got now is we're going right on the 8 o'clock
8 o'clock
hour,
hour.
minute this hour. Well, take a moment, would you, and kind of give them a teaser about your Crimson book and try to sell that.
Okay, Crimson, the blood painting, which is based on a couple of actual haunted paintings that I have. In fact, one of them that it's mostly based on, you can see her on the front cover of the book if you look it up, Crimson, the blood painting. And it involves around this single father and his daughter who one day mysteriously find antique painting sitting right outside their front door, and they don't know where it came from, who left it, or why, but they decide, hey, it might be worth something. So one man's trash is another man's prize.
Don't be talking
So-
about my wife.
So they hang it in their house, and then awful things begin to happen and stalk them. Crimson, the blood painting. And the audio book is completed. It's in paperback and Kindle ebook. But if you like books, that's about to be released. It's completed. It's going through the process of the audio approval with ACX, and then should be on
Perfect.
Amazon. And
I'll tell you what, the audio version, you think it'd be done before Christmas?
I hope so. I've been watching every day. They said it could take up to 10 days. And
Okay,
it's been since
the
last
book,
week.
the book itself is already available. Perfect stocking stuffer,
Well,
you know?
yeah.
And the audio book, even if it missed Christmas by a couple of days, perfect for your truck driver.
Yeah,
You
your
know,
New Year's travel.
That's it. Because you got to be entertained as you go down the road, you know?
Yes.
And so remember, Crimson, the blood painting, yes, it is clickbait.
No,
It's not Crimson
only if they're
Tide.
in Alabama.
But bottom line is, it's a good book. I've read the
Well, thank you.
first couple of pages that he took the book away from me. He was afraid I'd tell you the whole story, I guess.
You get it at myhauntedDolls.com, Amazon, Books
Yeah.
A Million, but the audio, and of course Kindle ebook, but the audio book when it's released will be available on Amazon, Audible app, iTunes, anywhere like that on apps.
Excuse me.
I got a question for you guys. Would y'all want to know the exact time that you were dying?
I'm dying right now.
I mean, the exact time that you're going to die.
It'll
I
happen.
got the age on one of those apps, but
How old are you going
I
to
got
be?
a story for you
you
guys.
claimed 75, something like that.
Yeah.
What are you looking at me like that?
I don't know if you'll make it too long.
Look at it. Meanwhile, he's on the
Okay,
edge.
so
teetering
I
over.
guess Catherine has a story she wants to share. Is that true?
Oh.
We'll push the mic over her face, and
It's in your face.
we can talk about it now. But the question was, if you did not hear her, and this has been even an app that pops up on Facebook, would you, if you could, would you like to know the exact date of your death? Maybe even the exact time of your death. Is that something that you would like to be aware of? He would because he played with the app. It's like, yes, tell me,
Well,
when am I going to
I don't
die?
take it serious. I did the age thing. It didn't give me an exact date
Okay.
thing. But
So I guess
I
she's
got
going to
it.
now share a story with us. So listen intently. Give her undivided attention.
Okay, the story is called Countdown. Happy 12th birthday, the old man said, as the boy removes the simple brown paper from around the box. The box was a simple hinged box that opened to reveal a cheap watch. The boy takes a look at the watch and notices that it's different. And though it is ticking away time, it is counting down. But why is it counting down? It is years and years away. The old man lets out a chuckle and starts to explain. Son, this watch here is not your ordinary watch. You see, it is counting down. It is counting down every last moment you have to live. When the alarm dings, you will die. Oh, what a gift this was to the boy, but at the time he did not know it. He thanked the old man and continued with his party. The watch had been stuck in a box in the back of the closet until the boy was packing for college. He noticed how much time he had left and realized that it was disappearing quicker than he realized. It was at this moment that he decided to wear the watch to remind him to live life. 4 years down the road, the boy graduated from college. He continued to wear the watch day in and day out. He landed his dream job and asked the woman he loved to marry him. They had the typical 2 children, the nice home in a modest neighborhood, nice cars. You know, the typical American dream. Then one day, the now man looked down at his watch and noticed the time was quickly falling away from his life. He wanted to live, so he began to live. He sold all of the family's belongings and bought a sailboat and sailed the world. He hiked through mountains, kayaked down rivers and streams, flew planes, parachuted off cliffs, and learned to hang glide. He loved, he laughed, and he enjoyed his life to the fullest. The next time he looked at the watch, he was an 80-year-old man. He had 3 days left. He asked to see all of his family and his friends, and they obliged. He hugged and kissed them all one last time, told them stories, and enjoyed their company. He knew he had been a good father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. The second day from death, the man reflected over his life, and if he would have done anything different, his only regret, not understanding the gift until he was an adult. The boy, man, now old man, decided he would spend his last days with his wife. It was an adventure that she was sure not to forget. The old man hugged and kissed her and told her how much he loved her. As the alarm began to sound on the watch, the old man smiled, took a deep breath, and waited for the end. He closed his eyes. Then the watch stopped beeping and turned off. And nothing. The man was still alive. You would think at this very moment that the man would be happy to be alive. But for the first time in the man's life, he felt fear.
He felt what?
Fear.
Okay.
Fear. Did you get the story? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
She said no.
Did you get the story?
Did I get it? The
All he felt was fear.
yeah.
Now he didn't know when he was going to die,
And that bothered him.
and it bothered him, but he had lived a good life.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, you know, it's like I've always been, when we talk about that sort of subject, because my father was a pastor, we grew up with hospital visits and dying people in the congregation, you know, and at that one time, everybody that I knew was like old and dying, it seems like. And so I was constantly surrounded by that, and I've been very pragmatic with it. Of course, being raised a Christian also put another light in it, because it's like, this life is nothing compared to eternity, right? I mean, this is like, you won't even remember this in eternity. Can you imagine?
Mhm.
Do you remember where you were like when you were 5? You know, barely, right?
Some things.
Yeah. But the further away you get from it, the less you recall it.
5-year kids.
Yeah. So in eternity is a long time.
I can name you every Christmas, every birthday
Yeah.
present I got.
So when you look back and you think and you put it all in perspective, I've dealt with the reality of death all my life. I never was protected from it. You know, I was sheltered from it. It was always in my face. Back in those days, the body would be laid out at home in the living room. It wasn't, you know, there wasn't a 2-hour visitation in a funeral home. Totally different.
Mhm.
And so it was a constant. And So it wasn't a matter of saying when I would die. It was just a matter of knowing that you were going to die and accepting that reality. The one thing that all humanity shares is if you were born, you are going to die. That's the only certain thing about life is it will end as we know it. And then, of course, based on your religion and beliefs and whatnot, you can go into infinity and debate the afterlife all you want. But different cultures have different ways of viewing it. But bottom line is that I don't particularly care to know. I think it would dampen my ability to enjoy,
Yeah.
I live with the fact that I may not be alive tomorrow. But
I just don't even think about it because then you start getting depressed and scared or whatever. I just hush it.
Well,
Are you sure?
Yeah, you get all kinds of spots.
Oh,
on
I
you.
know that.
with my
The older you get,
recent
you get
illness,
aging spots.
the fact that I could have died, all the surgeries I've had this year, and
You could have died without surgery.
I know, but being as sick as I have been this year, I've been scared.
Yeah.
But it's reminded me that I'm spending more time with Elizabeth now, spending more time with Kelsey.
Oh, she don't spend any time. Just
I've
never hear from her.
I'm not to throw something at him. I'm spending more
Sure,
time.
you're over there.
I'm trying to make sure that I'm loving my people's
My people.
more. And if I was to die tomorrow, I would want them to. I would hope they felt that I did love them because I did spend so much time with them and stuff.
Is that what I'm talking about?
Do you know I love you?
You claim it. Sometimes I just don't have a clue. Let me tell you. All the I've sat with people at their deathbeds. Believe it or not, I've done last rites for people at their deathbeds. He thinks I'm some cold-blooded, none-caring.
I didn't say that.
But bottom line is,
Oh,
I will tell you straight up that none of these people on their deathbed ever sit there and was talking about their house, their car, their money. They were all talking about their loved ones, their family, the ones they would miss, and they would miss them. Most people that I dealt with, not all, some people are very self-absorbed even in the death state. Most people I dealt with that were dying were very selfless. They were more concerned about who they were leaving behind
Yes.
than where they were going. There was never even these people never talked about God. They never talked about an afterlife or any of those things. They simply talked about, I hope my daughter's going to be okay once I'm gone. I hope Kevin will grow up sometime when I'm gone. Those kind of things. I didn't say Kevin Cain.
Yeah.
Working on the ambulance and dealing with death all the time.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. 90% of the people that were going to die within the next 30 minutes to an hour, you know what they asked for?
What?
Water.
Yeah.
Water.
They never asked, for you to pray for them. Only those that thought they were going to die would ask for you to pray for
Do
them.
you want some water?
No, thank you. I'm just fine.
But
He's going to stop drinking water.
I've held hands. I've been pumping on people's chests. They were dead.
Yeah.
Dead, damn it. And they would 1 minute be talking to me, and then they look me straight in the eye and say, "I need some water."
Yeah. Really and truly, if you spend any time with dying people, the majority of them are very peaceful deaths. It's very calm, peaceful thing. The last rites I gave was if none practicing Catholic, so he couldn't get a Catholic priest to come. The family wanted somebody there, and where was it? Over Jemison somewhere, the hospital over there, Clanton, wherever, and he basically was already dead. They had to breathe a tube down his throat and that kind of stuff. So really and truly, he was in a death-like state. By the time we got there, he had choked. It was in a veterans home, and he'd been missing some teeth. And he was eating a ham sandwich, no cliche thing, and literally choked to death. So he was in they had the breathing tube on him and whatnot. His chest was moving up and down. And after we did what we were going to do for last rites, they removed the tube, and it didn't take seconds before the breathing stopped. And, of course, he was declared dead. But it's, I don't think we deal with death in a very adult, mature way in our culture at all. I don't think we deal, our practice of embalming and whatnot comes from from Egypt.
Yeah. The mummies.
They were literally, where we get the term crossing over, they went with boats because they had this vision of this river they had, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
cross over.
That's where the coffin might come.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but in we have a problem, in my opinion, of sanitizing everything and taking reality away. I belong to a group that calls themselves for the good death. And because death is a reality and we should deal with it in that real sense. The couple that owns this building that's graciously let us use it for some time now, her mother just died a few weeks ago. And her mother was in the hospital, she's older and whatnot. And she laid down with her mother when she was dying and actually posted a picture of her and her mom laying there in the hospital bed. But we should deal with this whole thing. First of all, embalming is the worst thing that you can do for the environment. It's that chemical that is dangerous to our environment. A decomposing body is not dangerous to the environment at all. We allow deers to die. Deer carcass is no different than a human carcass and so forth. But we think we've got to embalm this body. And unfortunately, the funeral industry is taking over with all that. So we got sidetracked. You got another story for us here, Cameron?
Oh, yeah, I got a haunted Christmas. This is a spooky Wisconsin.
So don't think about
story.
death anymore. Just think about scary stuff.
A spooky Wisconsin ghost story. So if anybody comes across this and they're in Wisconsin, they might recognize this. But I like how this is written. The soft thud of following footsteps echoed behind him as he hurried through the snowflakes toward home. They kept pace with him, quickening when he quickened and slowing when he slowed. It was creepy. His flesh crawled at the sound, and he sped up, cursing himself for walking home alone from the midnight Christmas Mass. Normally not a pious man, the middle-aged bachelor had suddenly been struck by a wish to hear the old Christmas songs sung once again by a church choir and had walked across town to attend the service. Now he regretted his choice as he dark house after house in the snowy night and the footsteps ever following behind. He sped up until he was nearly running and skidded into his street. A few more paces brought him to the bottom of his front steps, and as he dashed up them, he realized suddenly that the following footsteps had ceased abruptly. He glanced behind him at the cross street from which he had turned and saw only one pair of footprints in the snow-covered street where there should have been two. He frowned in puzzlement and then shuddered as a cold breeze struck him, driving snow against his collar, and slammed against the door. Almost it seemed to pass through the door, but that was superstitious nonsense, he thought to himself. His hand was shaking as he unlocked the front door and hurried inside. He expected darkness, but he was delighted to see the yellow glow of firelight coming from his study doorway upstairs. His old housekeeper, whom he thought firmly asleep in her attic bedroom, must have come and lit the fire pending his return. He shrugged out of his coat and paused for a moment, amazed to find it still warm and dry, though he had walked for more than a mile through a snowstorm. It was almost as if he'd been walking in a bubble of calm air, though he remembered the soft snowflakes hitting his face when he first stepped out of the church. But that was before the mysterious footsteps began. His shudder was interrupted by a shout of greeting as his old friend Andy came hurrying out of the study. His whole face lit up in a grin and the unexpected surprise. The two men shook hands heartily and retreated back to the warmth of the firelight, talking so fast they stumbled over each other's words. Andy had left town 2 years ago to take a government job in D.C., and they hadn't seen each other since. Nearly an hour passed before it occurred to him that his guest might be hungry. His offer of a meal was instantly accepted, but Andy was unwilling to leave the comfort of the fire to eat in the kitchen. So he jogged downstairs alone to fetch some food. He didn't wonder at his friend's reluctance to join him in the kitchen. Andy had looked very pale and had kept shivering with cold while they talked, so he hoped his friend wasn't ailing or anything. A few moments later, he was back with warmed up meat and potatoes and a couple of glasses of beer, apologizing profusely as he handed Andy a plate because there was mismatched dinnerware. Andy just laughed and hunkered down to eat. When they were both finished, he showed his friend to a guest room and then went to his own room where he tumbled into bed. All his apprehension caused by the mysterious footprints earlier were forgotten in the visit of his friend. He jumped out of bed Christmas morning and dashed immediately downstairs to the guest room to rouse his friend. Andy was not there, and the bed had not been slept in. That was odd. He ran down to look in the study, but Andy wasn't there either, and one plate full of food was sitting on the end table beside his old friend's chair. It was completely untouched, though he'd seen Andy eating from it the night before. Skin creeping at the thought, he ran to the kitchen and asked his housekeeper if she'd seen Andy. But the housekeeper had seen no one either the previous night or this morning. He flopped down on the bottom step of the staircase, completely baffled. Where had Andy gone? It was a mystery that plagued him all Christmas Day, and he did not have a holiday dinner at all, a fact that annoyed his housekeeper. He was awakened the next morning from a restless sleep by the sound of the front doorbell. He stumbled out of bed and was splashing water from the bedside pitcher into his sleepy eyes when a knock came at his bedroom door. When he answered, his housekeeper handed him a telegram that had just arrived. As she hurried back downstairs to prepare his breakfast, he opened the telegram curiously, not knowing who would be telegraphing him so urgently. As he read the telegram, he started to tremble. The message was short and to the point. Andy's family regretted to inform him that his old friend Andy had passed away on Christmas Eve in his home in Washington, D.C. He sat down hard on the bed, the telegram fluttering away from his hand. It must have been Andy who had followed him home on Christmas Eve. That would explain the eerie footsteps and the dry coat in the middle of the snowstorm. He just spent Christmas Eve with a ghost. And that's it. That's a pretty good story.
That was a good
It's
story.
all good story.
All the way from Wisconsin.
I'm going to take it a different route.
A different route.
Different route. Not too far from removed, but something we haven't talked a lot about here, and that is the cryptids, beast. And I'm going to focus on several. Sounds like it to me, right? I'm going to focus on Alabama. There's a series of sightings in Alabama that we're going to talk about here. And I love the way this one starts out. She was beautiful. She was exotic. She was hairy. That spring, a creature dubbed the Wolf Woman of Mobile
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
made appearance to people along Davis Avenue and in the community of Plateau. According to reports in the press register at the time, witnesses described the creature as having the lower body of a wolf and the head of a woman. She was seen at night stalking residents but never harming anyone. The half-wolf, half-woman creature so frightened the citizenry of Mobile that people began calling the press register to report the sightings. On April 8, 1971, the newspaper reported the phenomena complete with a drawing of the creature conceived by a newspaper illustrator. Listening to as many as 50 phone calls the press register has received day and night in approximately a week, we wonder if perhaps there isn't something out there. Witnesses describe the creature as pretty and hairy. Not pretty, hairy. Top half was a woman, bottom half was a wolf. An unnamed teenager is quoted as saying, "My daddy saw it down in the marsh and it chased him home. Their mommy keeps all the doors and windows locked." One witness had heard the creature had escaped from a circus sideshow. The reporter said that the fear of witnesses seemed real, although the initial reports would have begun on April Fool's Day. The police were getting calls too, and although officers would not make an official comment, they did investigate to determine what exactly Mobile citizens were seeing. Sightings of half-wolf, half-human creatures have been reported throughout history, with the werewolf being the most common incarnation. The legends of anthropomorphic creatures stem from American Indian folklore and capture the imagination. Within days, sightings of the wolf woman of Mobile stopped and have not been reported since. Reports of sightings of Bigfoot in Alabama are not new. Smith reports sightings on the group's website, including the latest one in Davis in September. He also describes ways people can tell a Sasquatch has been in the area: bent or snapped trees, or trees arranged in a teepee shape. Smith writes, "I became interested in this elusive creature in 1971 while in high school in East Central Alabama. I was 15 at the time. It seems that year we people in this area had one or more of these creatures roaming the woods in a fairly large area. There were multiple sightings over several months, and I saw this giant, hairy, non-existent creature for myself more than once." Smith says that at age 56, he remains as interested in Sasquatch as he was at age 15. "Since my first sighting, I've spent numerous hours in the field investigating sighting reports. I have listened to countless witnesses relive their story." The legend of Alabama White Thing, I'm sure you've heard of that one, had been prevalent since the 40s in the triangle between Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties, where people reported seeing a creature more than 7 feet tall, covered in white hair. It has been sighted in Happy Hollow, Walnut Grove, Moody's Chapel, and Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. The creature is known for its ability to move extremely quickly, despite its size, and for its eerie screech that sounds like a woman's scream. Some have described the scream as sounding like that of a panther. Many have speculated that the White Thing is an albino Bigfoot, or perhaps a large albino bear. Peter Gossett writes on his website of Winston County history that his aunt, Vanetta Martin Smith, knew people who reported the White Thing. Smith told Gossett, "Old man George Norris seen it over there in a graveyard, and he said it looked like a lion, bushy, betwixt a dog and a lion. It was white and slick with long hair. It had a slick tail down on the end of down on the end of the tail, a big old bush of hair. He leaned up against a tree and fell asleep. When he woke up and the sun was just rising, and the White Thing was lying right there beside him, and it was looking at him, and he said it didn't offer to hurt him or nothing." In Huntsville, the phrase Alabama White Thing is used to describe a humanoid, possibly alien figure spotted in the caves or drainage dishes in Jones Valley, along Governor's Drive and on Monsanto Mountain. The creature is described as having no eyes or ears and being completely white. A team of researchers of the White Thing started a Facebook page called Alabama White Thing. You remember that Facebook page? And we had to throw the white thing in because of the black Peter. Okay. For mothers wanting their children to hurry home at dark, the legend of the witch-like Huggin' Molly was a helper. You ever heard of Huggin' Molly?
Yeah.
For children, she was downright frightening. The Abbeville legend of Huggin' Molly began decades ago. Legend claims the phantom woman would appear to children, but only at night. She would squeeze them tightly, then scream in their ears. She never harmed them, other than perhaps causing some ringing in their ears. The figure was as much as 7 feet tall, wearing dark clothing and a wide-brimmed hat. One version of the story claims that Molly was the ghost of a woman who had lost an infant, who dealt with a tragedy by hugging local children. Another states that Molly was a professor at some former Southeast Alabama agriculture school who was trying to keep students safe by keeping them off the streets at night. Today, Abbeville remembers Huggin' Molly by venturing downtown, stopping in a cafe named for the phantom, Huggin' Molly's. It's set in an old pharmacy, complete with a soda fountain that offers such treats as sandwiches and Molly fingers. Molly's is located at 129 Kirkland Street in Abbeville if you'd like to go pay homage to Huggin' Molly.
Mhm.
We need to do that sometime. A series of sightings of the, you ready for this one? Downy Burger.
I work with a relative in that family, Pam Downey.
Okay,
So
Downy Booger.
I think it's her uncle.
Does she believe in the booger?
She didn't say she was not, but she talked about that.
Yeah.
I've seen the white thing before.
A half human, half animal were reported in the 1800s, late 1800s. According to Joyce Ferris, whose husband is a descendant of the Downeys of Winston County, the tale is part of family lore. Another descendant, Vera Whitehead, recorded the history, which Ferris published on a website of Winston County history. Whitehead wrote, in the latter part of the 1800s, Winston County, Alabama was known for the Downey Burger. Cousins John and Joe Downey were returning home from a community dance one night when they saw the creature. John and Joe were jostling along on their thoroughbreds, gaily recounting the events of the evening, when suddenly a strange-looking creature, bearing both the resemblance of a human and an animal, leaped out in front of them. They turned around and again started toward home. As they approached the sand bed where the weird creature had appeared, the horses came to an abrupt stop. They gouged them in the side, beat them with their bridles, but they would not budge an inch. Finally, they turned around and rode back to the Tittle house, remembering a longer route they could take. Others also saw the creature nicknamed the Downey Booger, and one sighting would lead to its demise, according to Whitehead. On a moonlit night in early fall, Jim Jackson loaded his 2-horse wagon with his barrels of homemade moonshine and headed for the commissary in Galloway, a mining town a few miles from his home. Glancing over his right shoulder, his eyes fell upon a peculiar-looking creature waltzing on 2 feet behind the wagon. He froze. His first impulse was to try to outrun it. He remembered his gun on the wagon seat beside him. He took the revolver, aimed, and fired twice. It screamed like a woman in distress and went limping away on 3 feet. The news spread quickly. Jim Jackson had shot the Downey Burger. A posse was formed. They combed the forest, only finding traces of blood leading from the sand bed to a distant cliff. Until this day, this incident is repeated among the residents of Winston County. What the Downey Burger was will forever be a mystery.
Downey Booger.
So, have you located something that you would like to entertain us?
I've been trying to look.
It's
It's a really long story.
8:30. You got 30 minutes to tell a story.
It's 8:30. Don't get long. And there was another website I found.
Well, look,
short
we're
stories
trying
on, and now I can't find it.
really entertain people here. We appreciate,
Yes.
number one, we appreciate everybody that does tune in, that does watch these. And I know that not everybody watches them live. Some people go back and watch it later.
Yeah.
You kind of, and then I guess you share this on your
Yeah.
pages as well. So this thing's getting out there, and I think we had some pretty good fun with it. And Christmas time is a good time for storytelling. I want to take while you're looking, I'm talking
Yeah,
here.
I found some stuff here.
But one thing I want to do, and I think I mentioned this before to you, Kevin, is take one of my YouTube channels. I'd like to go around and let old folks tell their stories, if you know what I'm saying. But have you found what you're looking for?
Yeah, there's a couple of ones. Well,
You found something?
a few weeks ago. We were reading some off of here.
Yeah.
Here's one: Santa stuffs the stocking. Ooh, this is a first-person story that somebody shared. It's kind of short. When I was 9 years old, I could not get to sleep on Christmas Eve because I was excited about presents and I was wondering if my parents had anything to do with the gifts that I'd received from Santa the year before. We lived in Texas back then. That night it was hot because the heater was on. I got thirsty. I got out of bed and cracked open the door to make sure no one was out in the living room so I could get something to drink without being seen. Of course, I also wanted to spy. When I opened the door, I saw someone bent over and then he stood up. It was Santa Claus dressed in the red and white getup. Strangely, I could see the Christmas lights from the tree shining through him. He was taking the stockings down off the mantel and placing them on the coffee table. When he started to turn around to put the next stocking on the table, I closed the door and jumped into bed. The next morning, I woke up and told my sister what I had seen. I told her where he had put the stockings. When we went into the living room, the stockings were where I said he'd put them. We both turned and looked at each other and froze for a moment. From then on, I have told everyone that I believe in Santa. So was it a ghost of somebody dressed as Santa? Was it a real Santa Claus?
My bad, Grandpa.
She could see right through him. She said, saw the lights.
It was a ghost of Grandpa because Grandma got run over by a reindeer. Her ghost went too pretty.
I thought for a minute it was going to be an intruder dressed as Santa. There's some scary stories about. Y'all probably have seen that or read or heard that story all through the house about the lady and the Santa Claus outside. Have you heard that one?
No.
I can share that from memory if you like to make up names because I can't remember. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
And it's all through the house. It's been, I don't know where it started. It was an urban legend. I know Tales from the Crypt in the 50s made a version in their comic book, and then they made, when the TV show came along a couple of decades ago, they made an episode. Actually, the original movie had it with, what's her name? That famous British actress that never grows old. What's her name? She's on Dynasty. Oh, come on, Kevin. I can see her face.
I don't know because I never watched TV.
Say if I say her name, you'll remember. Oh my God, Joan Collins. That's her name. She looks like she belongs in a wax museum because she never ages.
That's what the money in plastic surgery will do.
Yeah. But she's an isolated her fans. I should shut up. But anyway,
What?
she is. She's nice to her fans. She plays those snotty parts, and yet she's nice to people.
She knows she's paying her bills.
She's just a good actress. But yeah, she played this part in the original 70s version. But let me get to the story all through the house.
Get to the story.
I'm just going to I'm going to make up, because I can't remember the names I use.
No, we'll never know the difference.
I'll call her Carol, like Christmas Carol.
There you go.
Carol was home, and when her husband arrived, I'll call him Marty. Marty had come home all happy because it was just a few days until Christmas. And he was so happy he had bought a nice gift for his wife, Carol. He was just putting it under the tree. And then he sat down to read the newspaper. And unbeknownst to him, Carol had kind of softly stepped into the living room behind him. And she leaned over him, and one might think she was about to plant a hello kiss on him. Instead, as she leaned over, she brought the fireplace poker down on top of his head over and over and bashed his skull in. He fell to the floor. A little bit of blood ran out. She quickly wiped off she started singing Merry Christmas, Darling, and wipes off the poker and immediately sets about with her plan, which was to murder her husband make it look like an accident, and take in the insurance money. So, meanwhile, her little
I
daughter.
don't have life insurance.
Oh, okay. Meanwhile, her little daughter Lizzie is upstairs in bed. As Carol drags the lifeless body of Marty across to the basement door, she hears a door open upstairs, and little Lizzie, her voice saying, "Mommy, what is the noise, Mommy? Is Santa here yet?" Carol hurries up the stairs to stop her and says, No, darling, go back to bed. It's just Daddy and me. He accidentally dropped something. Just go back to bed. You need to be asleep. Actually, this was Christmas Eve because she was telling her, go back to sleep because Santa's going to come. You don't want to see him. Oh, I can't wait for Santa to come, she said. Oh, we got to go back to bed and go to sleep. So she tucked her back in, closed the door. She turns on the radio to try to drown any other noise that might happen and turns on some Christmas carols. Well, as she's dragging her husband the rest of the way to the basement, she shoves his body down. She wants to make it like he's fallen, and that's why he got a head injury. Now she's got to clean the blood up. But before she can, the music is interrupted with the radio station broadcasting, letting everyone know. County away, there was a mental patient who escaped. He is on the loose. Be on the lookout. He was last seen at a shopping mall near such and such highway where he attacked a Santa, one of the ringing bell Santas, and stole his outfit. So be on the watch. Do not open your door to any Santa Claus. If you see anyone mysterious you don't know dressed as a Santa Claus, call your police to at least check it out. She's too busy thinking about money. She says, oh, that's a county or so away. He'll never come this way. So she sets about cleaning the blood from the carpet. And as she's cleaning and she gets it all mopped up, she gets the rag and the bowl of soapy water she was using, and she starts toward the kitchen when she hears ding-a-ling-a-ling outside the door, or outside in the yard. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. She hurries to the front window and looks out, and swears she saw a little something crimson color dark behind a tree. But as she looks, she doesn't see anything. She thinks, oh, that story's getting on my nerves. Let me go back to what I'm doing here. I got to get ready to call the police here and report my husband's accident. And she's going back to the kitchen to finish washing up, anything that might have had blood on it. Ding-a-ling-a-ling, outside now. Now it's closer. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Oh my gosh, she says. She goes to the front window and she pulls back the curtains, and now staring in at her is this ugly, horrible, toothless face with warts on each side, staring in at her with a Santa cap hanging, dangling, scraggly hair. He says. She yanks the curtains closed, pulls the shutter, all this stuff, locks it up, and she runs over the phone to call the police, and she looks over and she sees more blood has trailed to the basement stairs. So she's like, I've got a maniac outside, but if I call the police right now, they're going to see all this and question me about my husband. I need to finish this, and then I'll call him real quick, and then maybe I can blame him on the killing instead of the stairs. So she's trying to scrub up the floor, and then she hears the back doorknob rattling, followed by ding. She remembers I didn't lock the door. She dives through the kitchen. The door just is about to open, and she grabs it, slams it closed, and twists the lock. And outside, she can see him leering in at her. Oh my gosh, she says, I got to finish up. So she finishes mopping up the blood. She goes down, straightens up the husband's body, comes back upstairs. She's ready to call the popo. And then she feels a slight cool breeze. And she looks around. Did I leave something open? And as she looks around, she glances up and notices little Lizzie's bedroom door is wide open, where it had been closed before. Thinking of nothing else, she takes up the stairs to the bedroom and looks in, and the bed is empty. She looks and sees the bedroom window is open a little bit, but the curtain is billowing. Oh no, he's gotten in. The Santa has gotten in, taking Lizzie. She races back down the stairs, and before she reaches it, she hears a noise toward the front door, and it opens, and there's little Lizzie. She's holding hands with Santa and bringing him in. Mommy, Santa's here. He's come to see me. And the last thing she saw was that Santa coming at her. And that's the.
That was a good story.
Now, where did you get this story from?
It was an urban legend a long time ago, and it must have been in the early 1900s because in the 1950s, Tales from the Crypt picked it up and did
They did
a
it there.
story in their comic book exactly like that. And then later it was incorporated in the Tales from the Crypt movie and TV show.
I missed that TV show. By the way. That was a good show.
You missed what? Yeah, they've got full episodes on YouTube. You can watch it. I've been watching. Oh, I should say it aloud. They might take it off.
Oh, yeah, no. Ain't nobody listening. Are they listening?
Ah, no.
Oh, wow. We are enjoying Christmas holiday, ghost story, scary story telling time with Kevin, the author, writer, Cain. And if you think that this is his latest book, sometime in the next 10, 15 years, he's going to co-author a book with this girl over here. Remember, her and her family do not move fast. Fast is not in their terminology, so she'll get around to it one day, but it's not going to be today.
I've actually started it, and I can pull it up right now and read you something out of
Well, why don't you do that? A teaser for the upcoming book. The pressure on you to get this book done.
it.
Okay. Some people know, and she's not streaming now because we're in the process of moving, but Sweet Haunted Caroline has been locked up securely and safe because she is haunted. Sweet Caroline, coming home to the house tonight.
As I lay in my bed, just about asleep, I start hearing distant sounds of someone screaming. I figured it was my imagination, and I roll over to get comfortable again. The screams get louder and louder as whomever it is getting closer and closer to my open window. I open up to allow a cool summer breeze to flow through the dark and once quiet room. Mr. Peppers, my wife was in a very deep sleep. My wife was a very deep sleeper and she did not hear it, but I did. I sprang from my bed and looked out as I saw Olivia Williams in her nightgown, tattered and reeling, with bare feet running toward my home. What is wrong, Olivia? I asked as the woman was in deep distress. Susan, wake up, I yelled at my wife. She slowly awakens from her coma and sits on the edge of her bed as she suddenly realized what is happening. Mr. Peppers, my home is on fire, and my girls, and Caroline, they are inside, as Olivia strains to get the words out of her mouth. That's all I'm giving you guys.
There is a tease.
Oh, that's I remember you.
A
I read that
tease.
part.
All right, we're going to get back on the Christmas subject. We've got about 15 minutes left to this live cast tonight.
Oh.
And so we're going to talk about 10 creepy things you might not know about Santa Claus. So you better watch out. Yes, indeed, you better watch out. It's that time of year, and the big man is coming to town.
Hey,
Come back, Kevin.
that one. Look at this.
That's why I sit next to you.
Hey, you got
Before-
skinny.
Before you get all agog, Gog and Magog in the Bible, with visions of dancing sugar plums, let's open your eyes to 10 creepy things you might not know about Santa Claus. Make sure your kids are gathered around here. They should hear this. So the first thing is, and you may not be aware of this, Santa wears red to cover up the blood stains from all the naughty boys and girls. Did you know why he wore red? What better way? See, that woman you told that story should have worn red, right? That red carpet. If you plan to kill somebody, make sure you've got red upholstery, red clothes, red carpet. Paint your walls red. Make sure it's a fully red room that you do this in. Santa's pretty smart. Okay. If you feed Santa's elves after midnight, they turn into evil gremlins.
Ah, gee, where did that come from, I wonder?
Before you were born.
Hi, Billy.
Before Santa got the cute little reindeer, he had a team of giant Norway rats.
Oh,
You should look this stuff up if you think that I'm making this up. See if Santa used to use Norway rats for his sleigh.
Norway rats. How could they pull the sleigh?
Look it up,
So small?
Catherine. I'm
How big
curious.
is a Norway rat?
They're giants.
They're giants.
4, if Santa's so rich and famous, how come he's always hanging around outside the grocery store looking for handouts?
That's the fake Santa. For
Oh, so
the,
you
for the
can't,
Salvation
the
Army.
bottom line is you can't trust Santa. Is number 5, is Santa really an anagram for Satan? Has anyone ever seen what's really under that red hat?
Oh, it's got the
And
same letters. Satan,
Interesting
Santa.
thing to think about. Have you ever seen Satan and Santa in the same place at the same time?
I
There
haven't
you go.
personally.
That need I say more? Number 6, there are more Santa impersonators than Elvis impersonators. Go figure. And they all want you to, and this is the part I like about playing Santa, is when grown women want to sit in my lap. Okay? All right. 7, what's really in that bag he carries? And where's Miss Claus?
Where's Mrs. Claus?
And the bag's red too, right?
Yeah.
Is there something dripping in the snow?
Did he have insurance on Mrs. Claus?
Number 8, Santa has more AKAs, if you don't know what AKA also known as, than the shiftiest of confidence men.
Chris Kringle, Father Christmas, to name a few.
I think it's Krampus too.
Krampus.
And I think it's Satan, because I've never seen Satan and Santa.
Papa Noel, yeah.
I've never seen Satan and Santa in the same place. I think they're one and the same. Okay.
Ooh.
Number 9, since the elves formed a union, all of Satan's toys, Santa's toys now come from a sweatshop in Honduras. Look at the tags. Look at the tags on your dogs. Look, see where it's made. All right. Number 10.
He's in Taiwan.
He's
What was
He's-
that last one? Look, see where it's made.
the elves formed a union, and since they formed a union, now all the toys are made in a sweatshop in Honduras. Okay, not really Honduras. It's really China or Korea.
I always see Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan.
China and Taiwan.
Number 10, he sees you when you're sleeping.
Let's see it.
Discover the dark, disturbing side of Christmas. Cutting edge haunted houses, night scare before Christmas.
Not scary.
This one night only event takes place Saturday. This wasn't this year because December 13th fell on Friday.
Yeah.
From 8 to 10. Get your tickets online. You know, we should start doing a Christmas haunted house. That'd be neat.
Christmas haunted house.
They do them. We're Alabama. We're always slow about getting this stuff together, but you didn't know they did that?
No, I
They
never paid
do.
attention. So.
Okay. I never paid anything. It's one of the bill collectors for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, Christmas haunted house. You'll see there's a bunch of them. Christmas Nightmare at the Massacre Haunted House. Krampus, a haunted Christmas.
Yeah, I talked about that one in
Mhm.
Orlando.
And the closest one here is either Atlanta, Memphis, or up above Nashville. Yeah. But the Paranoia Haunted House in Canton, Georgia. The Haunted Web of Horrors in Memphis, Tennessee. The Nashville Nightmare Haunted Houses in Madison, Tennessee. Opens at 7 p.m. Saturday. We should do that. You like Krampus? You want to go look at Krampus Haunted House? And we've got
Krampus haunted house.
there you go, locations. Austin. Boy, they got them all over. Krampus is in Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Jacksonville, Florida, Chicago, New Orleans, Columbus, Ohio, Nashville, and Houston. None in Alabama. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, I noticed that.
What are we going to do about
Don't
it?
do that
What are we
here.
going to do about it? I'm trying to help you get away from your job.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, Lord, it's hard to be home.
He's 65 and still not rich, but he's going to help me to get.
You know,
I'm teasing.
okay, I won't help you then.
I'm teasing.
Don't buy his books.
Hey.
We're gonna just tear this up.
MyHauntedDolls.com.
Try to be nice to somebody. What I get?
This is
Look at
what
the pictures from this Krampus haunted house here.
Look
Look
at
at
that Beetlejuice. That one right
Look kind of like my family.
there.
Oh, there we go. If that's not Krampus, I don't know Krampus. Doesn't it look like Krampus? Get your photo taken in their haunted Christmas photo op. I'm doing this wrong. Everybody's got Santa. We should do Krampus
I
photo.
hope we need to get Krampus.
Will you be my elf? Krampus
Yeah.
elf?
Does he have it?
She's the photographer. She's the photographer.
I dress
Yeah,
him.
look behind me right there. Look
Behind you.
behind me right here. In the picture. There's Krampus and there's
There
the
we go.
helper.
Yeah.
You would look good in this. Look at
Oh.
this. So that's what we need to do next week when the kids are out of school. Come and get your picture made with Krampus, Krampus, we're into Krampus.
Yeah, that line will be out the door.
Let us have it. You'd be surprised.
I'm ordering the costume now.
Oh, Krampus time, oh, Krampus time, oh, we all love our Krampus time.
Really not.
And here's my faithful and loyal mini Krampus.
KRAMPUS, right?
Yes. KRAMPUS.
Ooh.
Oh, there's Jack Frost. They got Jack Frost in the haunted thing too. Of course, Krampus.
Krampus is not cheap.
How much they want for Krampus?
Huh?
How much they want for it?
$90.
Oh, look on eBay. If you don't mess up here. Folks, we got 9 more minutes. If you got a 9-minute story you want to share?
I'd already
You closed out.
closed it out.
Well, anyway, in other parts of the country, not in Alabama, they have Christmas haunted houses. I was aware of this. They started.
That's,
Well, we love you too.
that scared me.
Scourge you. That was Krampus.
Yeah, it was Krampus. Thought it was a UFO, a UFO.
You know
Upo,
the scary peeper? They have a Krampus scary peeper.
the one that stares in your window.
A Krampus scary people.
Oh, Krampus time. Oh, Krampus time. It's such a wonderful Krampus time. We need to redo all the Christmas songs into Krampus songs. We'll go Krampus carol.
Jolly old Krampus, clean your ears this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now, you dear old soul.
Krampus the longhorn devil.
Had a very furry leg.
And a furry nose.
No, had a very horny head.
Oh, yeah. And a black Peter.
Ooh, what about this costume, Kevin? Think I can pull it off?
It's gonna be awful cold in that.
Okay, so we got Santa here, but I think we're gonna do Krampus photo ops with our photo booth set up here at 1430 Highway 47 South in Columbiana, Alabama. We don't care since we're getting evicted from town, so we're gonna go out in style. Nobody knows this is Westover, so they're like, well, we're too well known in Columbiana now. We can't go anywhere.
Did you see that parade?
The parade.
Oh, Westover's parade. Oh my God! If it hadn't been for police cars and fire trucks, it wouldn't have been a parade.
There was including the police cars and the fire trucks, there was maybe 15.
It was pretty pathetic. It was pretty pathetic.
Oh, there is a quick story I could tell.
Okay.
I can
All right.
shorten it.
We have 6 minutes, and Kevin Cain, our great storyteller, is right here. Hey, Merry Krampus.
This is about the Christmas dinner. So this family was gathered together. They just for their Christmas day gathering, where they open the presents around the tree, and they the mom and aunts and everybody were preparing dinner in the kitchen.
Ooh, yeah.
Just not long before, probably about a month or two before, one of their relatives had traveled to Germany. But because of business and everything, he wasn't going to be able to come back and be at the family gathering. So he had told the mother he was going to ship a present there just in time for their holiday gathering. Well, the box had arrived a few days before, and she had torn open the package and didn't really bother with the letter and put out this box. And she looked inside, and there was this fine powder inside. And she put her, what is this? And it looked to her like some sort of a ground meal or maybe something you can make gravy with. And she thought, maybe we can have this for Christmas dinner. I mean, nice to try something from Europe for a change. So she had told the family about this fabulous gravy she was going to be making. And then they all gathered around, and she brought out the gravy mug with the special gravy that looked so nice and bubbly. And they went ahead and poured it on their food and started eating. And then after a while, a few of them were commenting how strange the gravy tasted. It was very tasteless, very grainy. Something just wasn't quite right about it. One of the others asked, what are the ingredients in this thing? She said, well, you know that I didn't have time to read the letter. Let me go back and pull it out. So she goes into the box and pulls out the envelope that came with it and tears it open, pulling it out. It's not a letter from the young man, but rather from one of his acquaintances there saying, we regret to inform you that your son, fill in the blank, has passed away. Per his wishes, we did have him cremated, and he is here in this box shipped back to you.
Oh.
She had taken his ashes and made a gravy, and they had already consumed half of it.
Okay, so
Before they knew, they were eating a gravy.
I'm going to tell you a
Course.
true. I'm going to tell you a true story that happened to me.
Uh-huh.
So my mother was the last to die. My sister died before her from inflammatory carcinoma, which is breast cancer, and she had requested to be cremated. So the funeral home took her to cremation. I picked it up, and the remains came in this box, a big thick plastic bag in it. And the request had been made that we go to Athens, where I'm from, and spread the ashes over my grandmother's grave. So we went there, my mother and I, the only two left in the family at that point, went there and had Joanna in the trunk. We got a body in the trunk. Red dead. we lined it with red. So we got there and went to grandmother's grave, and I had the big, and you know, the ashes, the cremains of a full-grown human body, that's pretty substantive. It's not some little bitty, it's you know. Now, when she was going through her cancer treatment, a couple of things I add to the story, since I got a couple of minutes, they put a port, you know, for chemo and whatnot. And when it went through the process, they burned the body, and then they crushed grind the bones up. The bones don't burn, so they grind the bones up to a sandy-like thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the port did not grind up. So when I dumped it out, that port fell right there. It was still in her body. But anyway, as I'm pouring the ashes out, the wind blows. I snorted my sister, bottom line. So I didn't have gravy, but I permanently carry her around because as the wind blew, I was inhaling, and all of a sudden she's up my sinuses, and it's like I've had Joanna with me for eternity.
Is that the reason you have sinus issues?
That reminds me of Keith Richards.
That's true.
Keith Richards from Rolling Stones says that in one of his doped up stupors, he actually accidentally snorted his father's ashes.
That's the same way. I did not do that. I did not do it in intent. What happened is I'm slowly. I didn't just dump the ashes out. I kind of sifted them like you do a salt shaker, you know. I'm seasoning my grandmother's grave with my sister's ashes, and I didn't want a heap of the stuff because, anyway, and I got distracted because all of a sudden in this sandy-like cremain, ever dealt with cremains, it's granular, almost a you know, sandy type stuff. Like I said, the flesh burns, but the bones they actually grind up in there. The bones don't burn; they grind those up and chunk them up and
And a big blender.
yeah. And so as I'm doing that, I was shocked when all of a sudden, ding, that cork fell out. You know, it's a round thing. If you ever seen one? It just ding, it's like, oh God. And my mother's standing there, and about that time, a big gust of wind comes down, and oh, Joanna,
Get off me, sister.
So anyway,
She was still torturing me.
she just couldn't get rid of her. I'm sorry, that's awful. I know. I always say that for me to have a family reunion, I'd have to die to get there. I've tried the spirit boxes. Steve Huff would not help me out. It's like he said, you got too many dead people in your family. I can't talk on them.
My sister has teased me because she's pretty much because my dad probably will outlive him, and my brother is handicapped. She's the one that gets my insurance, and she get my company offers such a nice hefty insurance that I'm surprised she hadn't fixed my brakes.
Oh boy.
But she always jokes. I told her it's in my will. She made me make a will because of all the dogs. And she said that I told her, I said, I want to be cremated. She said, we'll make sure to dump your ashes somewhere on the way to the Bahamas. So,
Well, there are a lot of
I
people
can see her
that
driving down the highway, dumping them out.
Another popular
At the
place,
airport.
it is a but another popular place to get rid of cremains is at Disney World.
Yeah, people.
And they don't
especially
say
around-
they sneak in there.
Especially in the haunted mansion. There's a lot around
Yeah.
there. They say it's haunted because
It's
Really
a
haunted.
It's a haunted mansion, so it's amazing. But anyway, the time is up, folks. It's been a wonderful, wonderful evening. In spite of the fact that these people are cool, they get no respect around here.
there, I smacked him for real.
Smack.
I smacked him with a snack.
Say,
Snack,
okay,
snack.
here we go. We'll do it together. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
Have a wonderful evening. And happy whatever you celebrate.
Good night,
Merry Christmas.
sweetheart. Good night. Happy Saturnalia. And Merry
Kwanzaa.
Krampus.
Merry
And Merry Festivus for the rest of us.
Happy Hanukkah. Whatever you celebrate. Good
Uh,
night.
we have a spirit. Where's the bottle?